of this new book, Bitcoin, the Future of Money? Welcome back to the Keiser Report.
Thank you very much. And you said it with a rising inflection, with a question mark at the end, which is exactly how I intended it to be said. So well done.
It's grammatically correct the way I said the title of this book, The Future of Money?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. But most people go, the future of money. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying it with a question.
Well, it's a timely book, and in the book you actually name Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, there was a huge Newsweek story last year or a few months ago talking about this, and there was an outcry and a big storm about this, but it proved to be a false lead. The gentleman that was fingered in that piece. Here you do...
He was fingered in that piece.
That's a colloquialism, a figure of speech. And here you do mention someone. Who do you mention? Who's your...
Well, he is a shy, retiring computer coder from California, from Silicon Valley. I'm not going to say his name.
It's in the book.
It is in the book.
What page? I'll say it.
Okay.
You know, why are you
well,
being
it's
such
on. Well, I'm being all shy. Okay, you
why?
say it.
Well,
I'm not. The one thing you do with when you're looking for Satoshi is everyone who's gone on the hunt has said it with like total. This is definitely Satoshi.
Yeah.
And so I do it with a certain amount of humility, if you like.
By having me say the name instead of yourself.
No, because I'm not
like
going,
your humility surrogate.
This is Satoshi, but I'm pretty sure it is.
You're outsourcing your disgraceful violation of this man's privacy through me. Thanks so much, Dominic.
I've actually been in contact with him and we've exchanged emails, and he's very nice about it.
Now, this book, I should mention, was crowdfunded on a UK crowdfunding site.
It was. Let me just come back to the thing. I spend a lot of the book on this subject. I've analysed everything he's written. I've analysed his past. I've looked for people who fit the criterion, and I've concluded that there is only one person in the whole world that has the sheer breadth, but also the specificity of knowledge, and it is this chap, this shy.
Okay, so the name Nick Szabo.
Szabo.
Nick Szabo.
Yeah.
Nick Szabo is Satoshi Nakamoto.
I think so.
In your knowledge, in your research, and
but we should all leave him alone.
Yeah, well, but this is named in the book, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of firestorm in the Bitcoin community.
Because I haven't sent. I got obsessed with it, and I had to find out who he was, and then I found out who he was, and then I kind of thought, well, actually, he wants his privacy. It's a bit like. But I do kind of think, in a way, we need to know who he is, because Bitcoin's grown so big. It's a bit like he controls about 10% of all Bitcoins. He controls where a lot of money goes. And so it's a bit like, I don't know, knowing that Steve Jobs is the man behind Apple or something like that. You do kind of want to know. But at the same time, he wanted to stay anonymous.
All right, now, it says here in the flyleaf of the book that Bitcoin will do to banking and finance what email did to postal service and what the internet did to publishing, destroy old monopolies and create opportunities for the masses. Are we on track for that?
We are. I think Bitcoin's gone to sleep a little bit.
Why?
I don't know why. Bitcoin has these kind of flurries of interest and then these long, drawn-out periods of...
But it had some incredible scandals. The Mt. Gox scandal, the Silk Road scandal.
Yeah.
And so the public relations department of Bitcoin is... Maybe if there was more of a we knew who Satoshi was, they could hire a proper public relations department and promote it better. Because otherwise it's in the hands of these hooligans and ghouls. Whether it's...
Well, I think the world has gone to sleep about Bitcoin, but... the technology will definitely change the world, and it will do the whole thing of disintermediation because what people are doing, they've kind of gone, we've taken banks and governments away from the creation and the transfer of money. Now they're going, what else can we disintermediate? So it's not just money. Everything from email to I don't know, to social networking, to YouTube, to financial markets, to stock markets. The technologies, even the entire way the internet works, we're just going to see middlemen disappearing or new kinds of middlemen emerging. And so it is incredibly revolutionary.
Okay, so now you came to this more or less as a newbie. So you're a journalist and a writer, and you've been following finance and markets from Money Week and other publications for years. And so you heard about Bitcoin, you decided to do a proper investigation, and a proper book about it. What was the most startling thing that you found out about it?
I didn't realize how good it was. And I didn't realize how clever it was. And I didn't realize what an incredible breakthrough it is. And then the next thing that's kind of blown my mind, apart from this revelation of Satoshi and what an incredible genius he is, and my goodness, history will look back at this guy in the same way that it looks back as, I don't know, the man who invented the internet, who, by the way, is from the same part of town as me. Wandsworth. But
Wandsworth, huh?
Yeah.
It's Dominic Frisby and the www, internet.
Yeah, but the real revelation was what this technology of disintermediation, what it's going to do to the world.
Right. So we already see it having profound impacts on things like in the remittance business.
Yeah.
The money, moving money around the world for workers who are making quite low wages. And then when they send money back to countries in Asia or Africa, they're charged quite a huge sum from their money transmitters from Western Union and others. And here with Bitcoin, it's all down to zero. So this is having a profound impact right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had to move some US dollars back to the UK only 2 weeks ago, and it was done through HSBC, and I got absolutely more than fingered, as you put it.
You know, they charge a fee, Bitcoin. And then they charge the spread.
The spread was what killed me.
Right. So they are, you know, there was a scandal.
About 2% of what the actual Forex rate was.
Right. So there's a 2% on top of the fee, and then a 2% gap. And then when you're talking about amounts of $100 or $500 or something like this, which is a typical remittance amount, it comes out to an extraordinary amount of money.
Yeah.
And they, you know, there was a scandal a few years ago when I think it was MasterCard or Visa, we had an insider on the show. It may have been actually somebody who was the first to tell us about Bitcoin. I'm not going to mention his name because he is an insider.
Yeah.
But he said he used to work for one of these big credit card companies, and at the end of the quarter, if they needed to juice their quarter, they would just amp that spread from 2% to 2.5% on any given day. So people are, you know, tourists in their credit card in the machine getting cash, you know, and for that day, they needed to make their number for the quarter, so they just amped the spread.
Well, that is just outrageous. I mean, it's just terrible. But, you know, what's interesting, the credit card company, in the early 90s, there was this big battle as who's going to control internet payments. And it was a big battle between the credit card companies and this thing called DigiCash, who, by the way, Satoshi worked for in the 1990s, interestingly, David Chaum's thing. And because Chaum's technology was actually better than what the credit card companies were offering, but because of various complications to do with egos and wrong choices made at key times, the credit card companies won that battle. But there's no reason why Bitcoin or some follow-on can't win the next battle.
Well, Jamie Dimon over there at JP Morgan made the comment recently that, well, Bitcoin's trying to eat our lunch. And, you know, so he's openly saying, look, they're competing with us, and so we're going to fight back. So when you know, they've poked the hornet's nest with the banking establishment. They realize this is a threat, and they're using all their might to fight back.
Yeah.
They're using their control of the regulators, the control of the markets, the control of the media to do what they can to beat back this threat from Bitcoin. And at the moment, given the transactions are down overall, the mentions of it on, let's say, Google search as using a somewhat crude but nevertheless revealing way to gauge interest have fallen down sharply. And so my opinion is that the adoption of Bitcoin is going to be driven by bank crisis, and that we saw this in the crisis in Cyprus. But at the moment, the dollar is high, the banks are fat, people are stocks at a new high. So there's no need for an alternative currency.
I would completely agree with that interpretation. At the moment, the world has lost interest in Bitcoin, and it will take another crisis or a mini crisis to get people interested in it again. But it is characterized by these, as I say, long periods of neutrality, I don't care, and then suddenly these sudden spikes.
Well, we should mention that underneath all this, in the VC community, the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars that are not going into startups is tracking a similar path to the early internet days.
That's absolutely right.
So folks like Mark Andreessen over in Silicon Valley, who's a big macha, dude. I don't know if you use this phrase here in Britain, but it's a kind of a Yiddish phrase we use in New York, a big macha.
I've never heard it before, but I like it.
A
big macha.
You learn this when you
like a big mama
in New York. And so he's behind a lot of these startups, and they're putting a lot of money into it.
Overstock is his company, isn't it?
No, it's Andreessen Horowitz. He's a VC now. He started Netscape. He created Netscape, the browser.
But isn't he listing his company on the stock market via issuing shares in his company?
So that's overstock by Byrne.
Okay.
He's now decided that he's going to be a full-on Bitcoin supporter. He wants to take the blockchain and create a stock market because he got screwed over the years by short sellers who
Okay.
took his company Overstock down to pennies, and through massive bear raids of printing
Yeah.
stock, on naked short sales.
Yeah.
And I used to follow Patrick Byrne closely years ago and trying to give him as much support as he can to fight against the short sellers, the naked short sellers.
Yeah, yeah.
And now with Bitcoin, he realized the penny dropped, and he said, you know what, I can compete with Wall Street and create a parallel stock market and just screw these guys unmercifully. And so that's what he's now in the process of doing.
Okay.
So he should read this book. Everyone should read it. They should buy this book on Overstock.
Yeah, there you go.
They should sell these. Patrick Byrne, you should order 100,000 copies and give it away to everybody in your organization, Patrick Byrne, if you're really into Bitcoin. I mean, I had him lined up on this show, and then he went off and did another show, even though I'm the only one that supported him over the years. So I don't know who this guy's loyal to, but if he's really interested in Bitcoin, Patrick.
So this is the first, I think it is the first book on Bitcoin by a proper publisher, and I'm hoping it will be, I've written it as engagingly as I possibly can, and I'm hoping it will be the Bitcoin book.
Right. Well, what about your comparison, as you make and others have made, Bitcoin to gold? Gold, talk about that.
Well, if I'm right about Satoshi, he was a proper old gold bug, and he was obsessed with gold, and he wrote a paper on gold, and indeed money, and he was trying to replicate the process of mining gold with his process of mining bitcoins. So, for example, the first bitcoins were easy to mine, they were cheap to mine, they required very little processing power. Surface gold is easy to mine, and then once you start going underground and the mine gets deeper, it all gets much more complicated and expensive.
So gold is trading down as well in dollar terms.
Yeah.
And because the dollar is making this huge run.
Yeah.
My contention is that Bitcoin is suffering from this as well, that gold, silver, and Bitcoin are trading down against this resurgent dollar.
All alternative asset classes, unless they benefit from financial aggression, creation, all this money creation that's going on, all those alternative asset classes, from oil to gold to Bitcoin, they're all dead in the water.
Now, though, we have about 20 seconds left. You made a comment earlier about London real estate. It appears to have topped out. Foxtons, the realtor, the property manager, their stock is down below where it went to IPO.
Everyone who owns
underwater.
Foxtons shares is losing. Anyone who's bought a Foxtons shares since they were public has lost money.
Okay, so that's a sign of property possibly topping, and then therefore we could see a reversal of everything in the last few years. All right, on that prayer, Dominic, we must say goodbye. Thank you.
My pleasure, Max. Thank you very much.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Dominic Frisby, author of this new exciting book, Bitcoin, the Future of Money. If you'd like to get